Every time I say the word
About to bust my
Taino as a
ass.
Haitian, there's backlash. I get comments and messages like this. Haitians don't have Taino heritage. Mind you, this was in response to a video I released yesterday about Haiti and Jamaica. I referenced Tainos because the Tainos were the first inhabitants of both of our lands. True facts. Here's the reality. Taino history is Haitian history. Some people need to stop gatekeeping. The story of the Taino people belongs to Haitians just as much as it belongs to Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans. Our deeper skin tone doesn't disqualify us from being able to claim the rich history, culture, ancestry the Tainos left behind for us. Haitians were predominantly, overwhelmingly of African descent, and we are proud to be a black nation. At the same time, we also recognize and celebrate.
That was well said by the beautiful sister. The only little piece that I take issue with is her saying that Haitians are predominantly and overwhelmingly of African descent. Now, I love and honor my African brothers and sisters, my comrades. But on the Western Hemisphere, the greatest deception, in my opinion, is that the melanated peoples are not the indigenous people. That paper genocide, oh, it did a number on us. They have us believe that they came here and they wiped out all of the indigenous people. She even said in the video by 1565, they were declared extinct. Now that's crazy to me. Let's skim through the timeline a little bit. And the perfect, that's why I love that island, Santo Domingo, because Santo Domingo is the oldest inhabited, let me make sure I say that, oldest continuously inhabited European settlement. So they founded, keyword founded, this city, this settlement in 1496. So according to history, where most of us should be familiar, Columbus and his crew discovered the island in 1492. They left, they came back 1493. 3 years later, they founded this settlement, 1496. Now, if we skim through this timeline, by 1510, they had the first slave ship with 250 slaves. 1516, they had the first sugar mill. By 1522, there was already a rebellion, a revolt. 1521, 1522. There was a revolt. Okay? In the 1530s, the Spaniards, the plantation owners, could not leave the plantation without a large envoy, a highly armed large envoy, to protect themselves because they would be raided. Because after the revolts, or the revolt, the first one, and I'm sure that raised awareness of the natives, the indigenous people, of the true intentions of the Spaniards, they would raid them. So we're saying after in the 1530s, they couldn't leave the plantation without a large envoy. And there was already a revolt 15 years in to them founding this city, this settlement. You're telling me that you wiped them out within the next few decades? They declared them extinct, but trust me, that is not the story. That is part of the paper genocide. That's not the true story, should I say. Another thing that she said in the video was that the name of the first Haitian army, the one that defeated the French, was the Indigenous Army. Now, why would they call themselves the Indigenous Army if they're not indigenous? They clearly had an understanding of who they are, who they were, and where they came from, for them to name themselves that. For them to use the name, the original indigenous name of the island, Haiti. It would be because they understood that they are the indigenous and they had a connection to the island. So they maintained that name. If it's clear as day if we understand. And if we look at the timeline, for example, I had a conversation with one of my friends. He's blessed to have his grandmother still around. This was recently we had this conversation because his family's from Alabama. So I was telling him, I'm like, yo, bro, you guys are the original in this nation. You were here before the Europeans. He's like, word. So anyway, grandma calls, his grandma on the speakerphone. So I'm like, grandma, do you remember your grandma? And she said, I'll do you one better, Joe. I remember my great grandmother. I said, word. And she proceeds to go into details and, and breaks down some history and tells us certain memories that she has, which is really dope. So after we got off the phone with her, I looked to my brother and I said, yo, bro, you understand that? We in 2024. All right? Grandma could easily tell us about 1924, even if she wasn't born at that particular time. She would know what was going on based on her parents or whatever. Right? If she can have a conversation with her grandmother, that would take us into the 1800s easily. And we're talking about her great-grandmother. So now, if the army, the rebellion is going on in the 1700s, anybody at that time, and I'm sure they were more a tight unit with their family, and there was less distractions at those times. So, there was more communication and conversation. Anybody in tune with their grandparents or their great grandparents in the 1700s, we would have to grant them that same timeline. They could easily have an understanding of what was going on in the 1600s and even the 1500s. You understand what I'm saying? So this is not by accident that they would choose these names. It's because they had a understanding. We just have this perspective because they're forcing this lie onto us. And it's for many reasons. And we're going to dive deeper into it as we go on with future videos. But they are forcing this perspective on us. Even the term African, this is a modern term. So anybody that was Negro, black, melanated, that we, from our perspective, we push the word African on them. There's clear history of, a revolt or rebellion going on in the Northern America, and they will get the rebels and ship them off to the Caribbean. And slaves are usually prisoners of war. So for us to say that every slave that came in, even the 250 slaves allegedly that they had in 1510, we can't say that they're from Africa. They could have been from North America. They could have been from another island. That's just the reality of it. But it's all part of the trick because they want all of us to think that we all came from Africa. Like the equator only circles in Africa. It doesn't come over to this side. The tropical weather, we can't live here. It doesn't make sense. And if we pay attention to the timeline and really understand what's going on, we can really see. We have to unlearn the lies. But I thought that this video was a great example, and she brought great points. So I honor and respect that sister, and these to me these are clear indications. As we move on, we'll see more, but these are clear indications. The Indigenous Army. Wow. That's deep. Shout out to that sister, though.